Hey guys, it's Devin Doherty here, one of the founders of the Thrive Network at eXp Realty, and I am joined by Dave Conord, the president of U.S. Growth. Welcome, Dave.
Hey, Devin, how's it going, man?
Excellent, excellent. I'm also here to introduce Sean Goerss, who recently partnered with Thrive at eXp Realty. Welcome, Sean.
Hey, Devin, thanks for having me. Hello, Dave.
Hey, Sean.
Hello, everybody else watching.
Yeah, I was super excited. And Dave, I want, we're in a new state of affairs right now. Could you kind of tell us just right off the top, where are we and how is eXp approaching the current climate that we're in right now?
Oh, man. So, there's been a lot out there about just what an unusual year it's been, right? I mean, there's been so much that that we've been faced with, both as an industry, but just as human beings and citizens. And I'll say that first and foremost, our hearts go out to the Black community, and we've made some very public statements about where we stand on that and our support, for the Black community and creating equality in general. We've done quite a bit as a company. Prior to this time, building One eXp in partnership with some of our agents who are really leading us through that, done so much to make sure that we have not just a diverse, but also a very inclusive environment, a place where everyone can come and thrive and succeed at a high level, creates opportunity for everyone to go out there and take advantage of it, but also to reach out into their communities and to carry that forward as well. So we've been very focused on that as a company. That's very important to us. Of course, during the difficulties with all of the coronavirus and the health concerns that has created, that's something where the company has also taken a lot of action. We've done a lot of additional training, a lot of additional support. We've opened our doors to the entire real estate community for other agents to come in. We have had hundreds of classes taught by our top agents on how to thrive and succeed in this environment and how to continue serving their clients and their communities during all of this. So we really want to be an active participant in the solution for these things, not only for our agents, but for the community around us.
Yeah, you bet. Well, good. Well, I appreciate that. And Sean, obviously we're in this changing world that we're in and difficult times out there with all the stuff that's going on. What are your thoughts?
Well, I loved what Dave had mentioned earlier when we were discussing this yesterday of not just being accepting, being welcoming as a company at eXp, it's stressful, it's tumultuous. Everybody's, at a different spot in what they're going through. And it's kind of like, crisis or stressful situation, one upon the other. So, I think it's important for us to always address that. We're here, we're going to talk about business and real estate. The greater context, though, is we're all human beings. We're going through all of these things together at once. And yeah, Devin, I know that's part of the vision that I bought into with Thrive and what eXp is doing, which is, we can serve anybody anywhere. And so I'm proud of it. I'm thankful to be a part of a company that is very progressive and, facing a lot of the challenges and a lot of the concerns that I think a lot of Americans have all over the country, no matter where they are. And eXp is in a unique position to be able to do that because they're one company across all the states, all of the agents. So I'm proud of it and I'm thankful.
You bet. You bet. Well, I'd like to take a moment to run down both of your bios, just some context to the conversation as we transition into the business side of the dialogue. And there's business as we know it today in June of 2020. And we're just going to look forward. We're not going to look back. And as we look forward, I just want to bring what is in our past, and that's our experience, to the dialogue and bring it to the purview. Dave's I'm just going to read your bio because it's so extensive and so awesome. Dave is the president of growth of eXp Realty. Right out of college, he started growing businesses internationally in the telecom industry during the boom of the deregulation. In 1999, he saw opportunities in real estate and development and jumped in. After selling nearly $200 million worth of real estate in his third year, he began buying and leading brokerage franchises. He became the owner and partner in a group of 11 franchises, eventually covering 4 states with over 2,500 agents, and was recognized as one of the top 300 brokerages in the United States. Dave also led the second largest regional franchise for the country's largest real estate franchisor, with 42 offices and over 7,000 agents, turning around the regional franchise from one of the worst performers to #1 within 2 years. After selling the franchises in 2013 and 14, he consulted to mid and large companies in various industries on growth, systems implementation, leadership, and change management. Introduced to eXp Realty model, Dave was determined to be part of the company's explosive growth and joined in October 2018 to build a revenue share team. That December, he was asked by company founder Glenn Sanford, the CEO, to take on a leadership role, and eventually was named president in April of 2019. Dave grew up playing lacrosse and wakeboarding in Annapolis, Maryland, and attended the University of Maryland, where he played lacrosse and studied international business and foreign language. He met his wife, Kristen, there, and they were married as they graduated. Now they live outside of Philadelphia, PA, where they're with their daughters, Paris, 17, and Sophia, 15. And 2 crazy retrievers. The family loves to go on adventures together across and travel across the United States, Caribbean, and Europe as much as possible. After we get to do that again, Dave, there's a lot there, brother. And I want to just give you a chance to just, as you heard that, what is most applicable about your background towards where we're headed in June of 2020?
So, and I'll throw out one quick correction, although it would have been great in my third year if I did 200 million. It was actually 20 million in my third year.
Okay.
Okay. I want to make sure that we're staying real on this. It would have been great if I hit 200 million.
I misread that. Sorry about that.
That's all right. Hey, it made me sound really, really good though. I think that number one, I constantly am really in a state of gratitude. I mean, just the opportunity that I've been afforded, throughout my life. I grew up, my father was a pastor, right? So, we didn't grow up, with a ton of opportunity out there from a financial standpoint, but a great foundation, right? Great family, and taught to work hard, and had lots of opportunity. I paid my way through college. And did every job known to man. I had 1 year, I had 13 W-2s throughout the year, because I worked every job I possibly could, and multiple jobs during the holidays and breaks. And, I would drive work all day and drive from that job to the next one. But a lot of people out there work hard, and sometimes we're blessed. I'm very just grateful for opportunity to have learned from some amazing people along the way. I've had some phenomenal mentors and coaches and friends along the way. I've studied what other people did, and I have. If I wrote my bio just on the things that I did wrong, it would be a lot longer than that one. But we learn from those things as well, and so it's really cool to have been able to experience those different things, and now to be hanging out with you guys.
Yeah, I love it. And Sean, obviously, before we get too far, I want to jump into your background. In 2019, you had $4.8 million worth of GCI, 171 million in volume, 464 units. You're the 13th largest team in Keller Williams, number 31 across the USA in all brokerages. You recently were obviously a MAPS coach for many years. You were in KW's top agent mastermind. You were personally coached by Tony DeCello and Abraham Shreve, amongst many others. Multiple participant in bold instruction, and I guess, Sean, as you look at what you are positioned for and the experience that you have, similar question to Dave. What experience is most valuable for you as you look forward into where we're headed with all of this?
Right. Well, I think we are in a new world. We're living in a new normal. Something that resonated with me, here we had decided that the change for our business, having done all that with a lot of amazing people into eXp, it made sense for each agent. And this was all before COVID-19, like right before it hit, and
right,
and now the stuff we're dealing with. Protests. And look, I'm right in the heart of it too. I'm right in Minneapolis now. I mean, we just came back and bought a house. I have a wife and 4 kids and a dog. And and we were like buying a house, all the banks are shut down. It's a tumultuous time. So when I look forward here, I'm realizing, wow, how blessed our people are, how serendipitous this is, that, we're at a brokerage that, is really poised to take advantage of this for each of their businesses, for their clients, for their buyers, their sellers, their investors, for their long-term wealth building. I mean, wow, we really happened to hit at a good time on this, where, eXp was really built for this. It was built for a lot of things. So it's just kind of reinforced it for me when I'm looking forward for our people. And we're, continuing to build momentum, scalability every day. And that is just something that it's just going to continue. Just like it was at my previous company. Now at this company here in the years ahead, whether it's the next 3 months or the next 3 years or 10 years and beyond.
Yeah.
So I'm excited for everybody in our company.
So specifically, you and I, we were part of the expansion organization, and Gary is such a great visionary, and kudos to all of our backgrounds being at the same prior brokerage. He put out such a great mindset related to growing these franchisable businesses. You, by the way, also have a really interesting accolade. I think the 14 Moves Network was the only really true franchise inside the expansion world in your old brokerage. Isn't that right?
We were the first and only franchised real estate team. So, and we did that for a bunch of different reasons. So, so when in our conversations, I mean, I am always wanting to get into business with amazing people, and as many of them as possible. And even with franchising, I was hitting a lot of, limits, a lot of pain points, a lot of limitations. So
well, speaking of limitations, this is a really great jumping off point, you guys. Speaking of limitations, one of the things that we are wanting to do is unlimit ourselves, right? In brokerage, in agent world, everything, we want to try and take off the limits as much as possible. For you, Sean, specifically, and then I want to go to Dave as well. What are you seeing as the limits that became unlimiting as you came over with let's say the old model versus the new?
Okay, so the cool thing now is we can get into business with geographically anybody, right? It doesn't matter if they're across the street, on the other side of town, or on the other side of the country. Right. It's the same amount of effort to get into business with anybody we know, which was amazing. That was originally why I had set up franchising. And it's so funny that I didn't know, Dave's background before I got to know him, but here he was franchising at the same company that I had been at and doing it at a much higher level. So we could probably all resonate with this. So I can get a business. So from that
standpoint, and by the way, let's just make a distinction there real quick. You were franchising teams, and he was franchising brokerages.
Yeah, you were doing it at a pretty high level. I mean, you're just a different platform, but
and kudos to Gary for giving us the opportunity to think in both of those realms, right?
Totally.
And at the same time, what have been some of the limits of the franchise thinking? And I'm going to switch to Dave real quick. Dave, as you looked at what the franchise model was that you were used to be a part of, to where you're now we don't have a franchise model, what's changed for you?
Oh man. So, a lot of great opportunities in the franchise model, right? I mean, when I started looking at building brokerages and building businesses, the franchise model made sense for a lot of reasons, right? When you have a proven model, something that's successful, someone has thought through, and you have a platform where you can take your entrepreneurial drive and your talents and go build on that. That's a good leg up, right? It was a great way to start. And for me, I mean, I was in my mid-20s, and so for me, I had a lot to learn. And I got to learn a little bit on someone else's dime in some ways, and I got to have mentors taking me through that. But as you mentioned, there are restrictions, there are some constraints, and you are held to if you want to use that model, you have to follow the model in order for it to be successful, right? But if you want to divert and say, well, I'd really like to be doing that, well, all of a sudden that model may not support that. And so you're ability to be creative on top of that and to go beyond it is pretty limited. Because now you're piecemealing it and you're trying to make something work that wasn't designed to do that.
Right.
And so, you get up to the, you come up to the precipice, you come up to the end and you kind of look down over and go, I want to keep going, right? I don't want to stop
Right.
here. And you have to, whether it's physical boundary limits, whether it's limits on opportunities that you can offer and that sort of thing. So, there were lots of I ran into, personally ran into limitations. There are also lots of layers in that, right? And so one of the things that I've loved about this particular model here at eXp is that there's a company platform that exists to serve the agents. So you have all the staff, right? You have all the people and the tools and everything else, but there aren't a lot of people in between. Like the last thing an entrepreneur wants is a bunch of other people telling them how to do it. Right?
Yeah, more bureaucracy and red tape does not help.
I want to go do it. I want hands-on. I want to go out there and try it. And I'm cool failing a million times to get the one big success, right? I'll try 12 different ways to create the light bulb until we actually have the light bulb that works. And that's what we want to go do. That's part of the fun, and it makes us better and stronger having learned and failed our way forward. And so, we don't want a bunch of people telling us what to do. Guidance, yes. Coaching, yes. Learning how to think, yes. All leadership, those things are good, but restrictions, are not as fun for an entrepreneur. And that's where now it becomes an entrepreneur with a platform, and that makes it unlimited.
Yeah.
I
love
and Devin too, it was the capital restriction as well. Basically when I'm selling a franchise, the minimum capital investment was around 140 to 200,000. And so that really limited the pool of actually amazing, talented people I wanted to get into business with and couldn't because they didn't have those kind of financial reserves and net worth that I had required in order for them to go and hire a bunch of employees and managers and stuff like that. So this is pretty disruptive and innovative where I was like, wow, I get into business with that person in that city and that person in that city. And, they've already got a successful business. They don't need to also, plunk down 200 grand over here or over there. That's very disruptive in the world at large. And I was kind of looking at, we're going from being physically based world to being a digitally based world. So digitally based, physically enhanced. And I was just noticing that at least a geographic, franchise structure didn't seem totally in congruence with the digital world that we were living in. And I looked up at eXp and, they'd already solved for all that. So when I'm looking for solutions, they had solved like all three of those pain points already. I didn't have to do anything.
There are some great agents and great markets that we can go into, right? That you can build relationships into and that we could go into as a company that you simply couldn't go into as any kind of brokerage other than this model, right? Franchise for sure. I mean, there was a certain number of agents. We would do our homework, right? And study the markets and study everything else and say, are there enough agents? What's the average production? What's the average sales price? How many units are happening? I mean, all of those things. And where's the market trending? What's our opportunity? What's our competition? We go through and do all the guerrilla warfare, right? To uncover all that information to say, is it sustainable to put a franchise model here? Is it worth it? And if we could get one planted there based on all the costs and everything else, is that a business worth owning? Is that something that we would want to have? Is it going to generate enough income? And there's a lot of smaller markets or markets where there's just a few high producing agents and then a bunch of other agents that are not doing as much. And it just doesn't make sense to put an entire franchise there or an entire brokerage office there. But you can have one uber talented agent selling in some kind of a resort spot or even a area up in the mountains of horse country, and there's one person who sells all those properties. We can get into business with that one agent, right? We can have that one.
Well, and that's what's so wild, you guys, is that, I mean, let me ask you a question, Sean. You obviously now have all the systems and tools that you had as you were over on the old platform. And what do you charge a franchisee, if you will, a person that joins your network now, to get access to all the amazing things that you do to make people productive?
Right. Nothing. I mean, that we were basically
wait. How much does it cost?
Zero.
Right. Wait, one more time. It costs
Nil.
nothing, zero, nil for you to give all of your best practices over for someone who wants to take a business that you did 5 million in GCI last year with, and you're going to just turn over your operations manager. You're going to turn over the coaching. You're going to turn over the training to them. Is that what I heard you say?
Exactly. I mean, they've got economies of scale at eXp. They've got all of the infrastructure built out. So we were attempting here again to create a lot on our own or stuff that hadn't been built for us. And I mean, how can you not ignore that? I'm a numbers guy. I got all the spreadsheets in the world. I ran the numbers every which way. Every time I ran them, they made sense. I mean, the day my hometown team, Devin, just our hometown team, the day that we switched to eXp, we put $250,000 back just in the pockets of the agents. Now, That's between a lot of different tweaks and cost savings, but we were able to forward on a lot of those cost savings to our agents and to our business owners precisely because of what you're talking about. Dave, you've compressed the layers. There's not, 5 layers of middle management to pay, and you just can't ignore that. Some people just haven't looked at it, which is understandable. It took me a long time to kind of notice what was different, right, about what eXp was doing. It's very disruptive. And
then Dave, you add on to that. Are we a real estate brokerage or are we a network marketing company? Which one is it?
Well, every business has some component of building a network to grow, but we're a real estate company. I mean, there's no question when you look at the fact that nothing succeeds unless people are working with clients and closing deals. I mean, everything else falls apart, right? Nothing else can stand on its own at all within the company. Everything we do is built around being the best real estate company out there, from what we do to provide tools and services and training for our agents to our agents who are producing. It's one thing to brag about agent count, which is a great yardstick. It's a great measuring tool because we say that agents vote with their feet, right? And so they look and see where they feel is the best opportunity for them to succeed, and they go there. And so if more agents are going to your company, you can say, hey, we're providing good things. So that's
time out right there. You've got some updated stats for us. I know you were going to share some of the things that are happening in the world of 2020 amidst all the world that's going on. Tell us what's going on in terms of the numbers.
So, in the midst of everything else, we've seen most major brokerages out there in the industry itself contract, right? And people are losing agents. We continue to just absolutely pour on agents joining our company. So we announced just a few weeks ago, about a week or two ago, that we surpassed 29,000. And if you stay tuned, we have some other exciting announcements coming up over the next couple of days. So we just continue to add great agents to the company. And what I love is, when we show an over 60% year-over-year growth, when other companies are showing, the other major companies out there, if you take the major, national and international firms out there that everyone knows, all the logos and stuff, they increased in agent count from about 0.5% to a maximum of 12% year over year, right? Wow. There aren't any other major firms that grew by more than that. And so we grew by over 60%. And but what I love about the additional stat to that is that our production grew by over 84%.
Wow.
Right? And so, and we all know that there's a lag, right? You've got your lead measures and your lag measures. We know that there's a lag in production when people join. When you're adding agents that fast, they don't have time to get ramped back up, close deals and that kind of stuff. So you don't feel the impact of those agents joining you until 90 to 180 days down the road. And but already from that growth, we saw an 84%. So we know we're planting bamboo. Right? It's going to come up really big and fast.
Yeah. And by the way, planting bamboo, I mean, think about it in terms of, here we are celebrating, breaking 29,000, moving on from there. And yet what we know is that there's 1.4 million realtors. And what I guess I would just ask you is that as you look at the landscape, Sean, and you look at it from the perspective of who should not join eXp, like who is the person you don't want to talk to?
Well, I mean, people with egos. I mean, I love getting into business with with people, amazing people, right?
Yeah.
So that I know, Devin, that's why you and I are in business together, right? Like attracts like, and here's what we know. What I mean by that is, especially in terms of your thinking, the way you approach the world. So much if you look at the values of eXp and the things that they're doing. I mean, I'm looking for people who want to build long-term wealth, who actually do the numbers, want to treat this like a business. And that doesn't mean that, you can't get in, part-time, or that, everybody's got to start where they're at, right? And, I'm looking for people that want to make a difference and be a blessing to others and fulfill their dreams. And humbly, I think that can be done a lot through real estate. I grew up in real estate. I've watched real estate from the inside out for 40 plus years. So I've seen a lot of people who think they're getting into real estate, for certain reasons. And then it's something different once they get in. Maybe they weren't, as committed as they wanted to be, or whatever. They just didn't realize it. So I want to set people up for success. I want people who want to be successful and, want to see others succeed where they're outward focused. Yeah. I mean, that's huge. And it's fun because there are a lot of those people. I had been pretty insulated at my previous company. I thought, we pretty much had cornered the market on that. And then person after amazing person that I knew had started to join eXp, which really had me. It's easy to vilify, right?
Yeah.
It's easy to say, oh, well, we own the market on culture or whatever. And actually, it's not the case. Other great companies exist out there. You've got great thinkers at Facebook, and you've got great thinkers at Google, and you've got great thinkers at SpaceX. And they're all, for one to be right, the others don't have to be wrong. And so that was kind of eye-opening for me in terms of, if you're asking who I'm looking to get into business with, those are the kind of people I want to get into business with.
Dave, how about you? You're obviously you're right there at the pinnacle of seeing everybody, that's making these transitions. And I know that there's literally dozens or hundreds of teams that are coming over as real estate teams. You're also talking about the brokerage side. You have some stats on these numbers too. Maybe you could share with us a little bit about what the momentum looks like from a team and brokerage perspective.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we do have hundreds of independent brokerages and people that are stepping out of their franchises. I mean, that are at the point where they're able to legally, move on to a different opportunity, who have decided to move in this direction. We had over 150 independent brokerages join us last year, and we've already hit about 50 for this year to date, that have already made the move. That we have hundreds that are in the pipeline that are in various stages of making the transition. They've made the verbal commitment. Now they have to figure out the transition and get all those things in place. So we work with them on that. So we have some incredible groups. We also have teams. I know that we formed over 500 teams so far this year.
Wow.
And most of those have been teams that have moved to us from other companies. So we've had hundreds of teams make the move over here. Really high producing teams. You get a couple of celebrities, right? You get the Tariq Al Musa, right? So Flip or Flop and some of his other shows that are out there from HGTV. You get some folks like that. Kenny Trong. I mean, even David Hill, right? I mean, our buddy David Hill. You get some great folks out there. Derek Ty, Vic DeCaro. So you have some top producing agents, people that are really. We're at the top of their game for their state and for their area, for their market, really doing some good work. And, one of the ways that I describe it to people is, you don't have to dislike where you are to make a move. I have always encouraged my agents over the years to constantly assess. It's my job to always make this the best place for your business. And it's your job as a business owner and, with your responsibilities, whether it be to your family or your community or your future, whatever it is, to make sure that you are always in the best place for your business, right? Yeah. And that's your job as an independent business person. And, and you don't get so stuck in a brand or tie yourself to someone else. I mean, I would even tell our eXp agents, don't get so stuck on eXp. What's cool is we have so many, we use NPS, Net Promoter Score. So every single month, we take the temperature of our agents and say, how are we doing in all of these areas and what could we be doing better? And then the entire leadership team and all the departments we break all that data down and say, cool, what are the next things we're going to improve? What do our agents need the most? What are they sharing with us? What things do we make sure we don't change because they love these things? But with your kids, if they don't want to try something, that they say, oh, that's gross. You say, well, how do you know it's gross? You've never tried it, right? And so, I always would tell my kids when they were younger, I said, well, what if you had never tried chocolate ice cream? Right? I mean, what if you had never discovered chocolate ice cream? Or what if you had said, ooh, that looks gross, I'm not eating it? And you would have missed out on the wonderfulness of chocolate ice cream for the rest of your life. So always, be willing to, open to the opportunity that there's something amazing out there. And that's the mindset that we got to go through life.
I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah. We're going. Hold on one sec, Sean. We're going to be wrapping up here pretty quickly. So I want to just jump in and talk about what I like to call referral share, which the company calls rev share. To me, and you can incorporate this into what you were going to say, Sean. Referral share is the ability for me to own the brokerage without the liability, without the responsibility, and the ability to receive a gift that keeps giving just for introducing people to the brokerage. And that's not only at a local level, that's at a regional level and a national level and an international level. Talk to me about how rev share and referral share, Sean, how does that make this even more attractive as you go forward?
Yeah, and I'll just mention, large producers like us, like I didn't get a deal, I didn't get a big check. I saw the opportunity, and you've got at eXp rev share and then the equity program. So if you look at rev share and you start doing the math on that, it's often more profitable. And this is why you see all these indie brokers. So agents take notice of this. You see indie brokers moving over because it makes more sense for their agents. They can get, 40, 50 plus hours of world-class nationwide training every week that a local typical brokerage just can't compete with. And then you've got this thing called rev share, which is basically like more profitable potentially than if you just owned your own brokerage. And and it's with mathematical certainty, right? Because I liked profit share. However, it was very dependent, and I know Dave knows this really well, it's very dependent on the owner or ownership group and leadership team in that specific location. And then once I was recruiting people, across to other locations, if they didn't have a strong leadership group, then that office wasn't profitable. So I like the idea of winning together, succeeding together. Revenue share is important because there's mathematical certainty. I know if that agent sells, 5 houses in a year, I will make around this much money. I had done that math on my own, right? Nobody told me that. I just went and did the math.
Right. Mm-hmm. Yeah, you bet. You bet. I wrote down a question I put on there. I don't know if you guys can see the screen, but it says, who's monetizing your influence, you or someone else? And in the old model that I was a part of, I was very much into trying to provide value to everybody that I could possibly provide it to at the local level, the regional level, the national level. And the only ones that benefited from that were the leaders of those locations. There was no true benefit. Yes, there was another form of a tool that actually Glenn created because rev share came out of profit share, but it also came out of the frustrations of not being able to control the bottom line of a location. And now we get to actually work on a platform where we don't have to worry about the bottom line. As a matter of fact, that's Dave's job. And we do
want the company to be profitable. We want everybody
to be
profitable.
Well, everyone's also a shareholder, right? So we all rise together as the company's more successful. So there's a double bonus.
Yeah. And by the way, shareholder, you talk about that shareholder conversation. I just received my first stock grants because of the fact that I did my first deal. And then I also sponsored somebody. So thank you, Dave, for facilitating that with your amazing organization. I also was able to invest 5% of my GCI at a 10% discount in the stock, which has gone up 24% amidst everything else that's going on since that investment was made. So what's wild is that you see this retraction and all these other things that are going on in our economy, and yet agents, they gotta produce, they gotta survive, they gotta thrive. What would you guys say as we wrap this thing up about why people should reach out and just have a deeper conversation with you individually or together, all of us. Why should people reach out, and what would be some of the parting shots you would give in terms of how important it is for them to have that conversation at this time?
Dave.
Yeah, well, first and foremost, you guys are, I've got a unique opportunity to be part of the leadership team and to drive this, but you guys have been out there building a tremendous business within the real estate production side of things, right? I mean, you've got the heartbeat. Your fingers are so much on the pulse of what works out there to build things that, when you're at that, when you've reached a point that you guys have reached, any agent that's out there, the fact that they could have access to you to ask those questions and to talk to you about it, and that you're willing to share it is massive, right? I mean, it's one of those things where, like, hey, if I could block off time on my calendar and go have lunch with anyone, kind of who would you go meet with, and who would be willing to meet with you and share, right? And I just encourage people to take advantage of this. You guys are opening the doors and saying, yeah, we'll hang out with you. We'll share with you what we got. We'll talk to you about what's going on. We'll talk to you about why we did this. So, I think people are crazy if they don't take advantage of that opportunity. It's a big one. But I just encourage people, similar to the chocolate ice cream bit, don't wait till you're upset to go look at what's out there, right? Don't wait till something goes wrong, because something doesn't have to go wrong for it not to be the best opportunity. So, you could be in a great opportunity. I didn't leave any of my other, companies that I've, left over the years, and I was with my former company for a long time. And, I didn't, it's one of those things that in the opportunity is look at where you're going in life, look at where you want, think really big, dream really big, and then find what helps you get there. And always be open to the fact that there's a better vehicle, there's a faster vehicle, there's one that's moving a little bit like more truer to straight to north on where you want to go. And if you're not always spending some of your time assessing if you're on the fastest vehicle to get where you want to go, then you're always running the risk of taking longer than you need to, right? Wasting energy and time.
Yeah, for sure.
Yep,
Thank you so much, Dave. Sean, what about you? And also throw in there, how do people connect with you? Well,
you can find the fastest way is just find me on Facebook. Okay. Find me on Facebook. And what I'd throw out there is I've got, the 7 major reasons that I think I've shared probably 3 of them on the call. We just don't have time to get to all this. I know these videos are long. So, if you want all 7 of the reasons why, and some of the math that I did on my back end for my own people, I'm glad to share that. That's not something I'm going to be posting publicly. But you message me, and I mean, there are a lot of curious people out there, and hopefully if you're listening to this, you're one of them. Dave said something, about, just saying I have to do this. I have to look into this. What's the risk in due diligence? You look at it, doesn't make sense, and I was at that point a while ago. And then I looked at it again, Devin, especially with your background, Devin, and how much respect I have for you, man. And it was like, man, if this guy's looking at this, I got to look at this because he's a smart dude, right? He's been around the block a few times. So if you're watching this, I just give you the same encouragement. Like, there are really, really smart business people and real estate people who want to sell a lot of houses, and they're looking at this and making a conclusion on their own.
Yeah, I love that, Sean. I want to just wrap up with just kind of the thing that brought me to this conversation with both of you is that I was looking to solve the puzzle after getting clarity about what my life's mission was. My life's mission is to help people on their journey, and and what I find is especially important is I love helping real estate practitioners on their journey. And the reason why I love that so much is because my number one business mission is to help people build generational wealth through real estate. And so getting crystal clear on helping real estate practitioners build wealth in real estate means to give them additional tools. And in the additional tool set that we have now, we have the ability to give them revenue share. We have the ability to give them stock options, and we have an unlimited amount of training that's available at no cost so that people can get out there and make more money selling real estate and helping other people do that and building passive income. Because ultimately my phase one process was to help people buy passive income in real estate through investing. The challenge is there's a big gap inside of having the resources to do that. Now you can go out and just produce, and you can also generate these other things. Think about it. I think, Dave, maybe you can verify the stat. What's the average amount of money that a person makes for introducing one person to the organization? I heard it was about $600. Is that right? If a person is productive, the average amount of payouts per person that's invited?
It's actually about 1,000. It's actually
1,000.
Yep, it comes up to about 1,000. I mean, it's, they have the levels and all that kind of, the different tiers, 2,800 and 3,200 and stuff like that. Annually for those that achieve the cap, but the math works out to an average of about $1,000 a year per person.
So divided by 12, you're talking about, trying to find something that generates you this cash flow, and you want to do that in buying passive income from real estate. That's great. And you can do that, but just introduce one person and you have 1,000. Do you want to buy a cash flowing property, or do you want to introduce one person to a brokerage that you have ownership in? What a concept. And so that just took my whole ability to that next level. And, I just truly appreciate, Dave, from where I'm coming from, you and I are aligned on so many levels, and you're there serving and have been in the trenches, bringing these large teams and brokerages over. I just really appreciate what you're doing for us out there in the front lines on the corporate side, if you will. But you also have the ability to help people personally as well. So people should reach out to Dave. And then, of course, Sean, you have been such a blessing to me, because not only do you have a giving mindset, but you also have a very systematic, production-oriented accountability mindset. So people should reach out to Sean, because he cares and he can plug you into systems to generate not only free leads, tons of free leads, but he can also give you the ability to help convert those into paychecks very, very short term. So if you're looking for, short-term income, long-term income, it's a really, really important conversation, you guys. And it's been really a pleasure. I'm going to give you guys one parting shot each in terms of, what would you say if you could only say, like 30 seconds, 60 seconds on where would a person need to go to find something better or different than where we are right now? What would have to change? Like, what would be the last thing that you would want to see a person do as they're investigating this whole process, right? You got all the things we talked about the last 40 minutes, but then you also are right there at the edge, and you know that you want to help people over that. You talk about the chocolate ice cream, Dave. You talk about this idea of what caused you, Sean, just looking at other great people that are moving over. What's one more thing that you would just want to add to make sure people don't forget?
Oh man. I think that, I'm just going to describe eXp the way that I've learned to describe it. It's been almost 2 years for me. And it's that platform, right? And it really is amazing for anyone with, any kind of entrepreneurial mindset, is that it's a platform that allows people to build what they want to build. There's so much here, right? I mean, that's the reason we could talk forever about this, is we could go down all the bunny trails of all this stuff, because it depends on, I hate to say it's like, it's kind of like, there's an app for that, right? It's one of those things where you hate to say, we're all things for all people, because we're probably not right for 100% of the population. However, there's a mindset of someone who wants to go build a great life through the real estate industry, where there are so many avenues here to do it, because we don't have the restrictions. It can refer to kind of like the open API source, right? I mean, you can really take your business model and plug it in here, and it's going to translate, and we're going to provide that service for it. And there's lots of ways to do, when you do the things that you do, and there are multiple avenues to succeed by doing those. It's similar to saying, it's the difference between taking a listing and just trying to sell the listing, versus taking the listing and trying to capture more market share in that community, get more listings, build your database, capture buyers, build relationships within the community, and all of those things out of getting the listing, in addition to selling the listing. And so this model here allows you to do all the stuff.
That's awesome. Sean, how about you?
Yeah. So I would say my top suggestion is just stay in curiosity. Do your due diligence. Don't let other people make decisions for you. Don't let your past determine your future. We are in a new world on so many fronts, and many more that, I pray turn out, really positive for our country. And, one of the ways that, back to production, I mean, I think that we can be a blessing to our community and to our families and to our friends is to serve buyers, sellers, investors, renters really well in our communities and do it at a high level and take care of our own financial well-being.
I love that.
I really have a holistic view. We're all of these people at once, right? We're a father or a brother or a real estate agent, whatever it is. We're all those things at the same time. So, suspend any limiting beliefs you have, stay in curiosity, ask questions, make sure you're getting advice from wise people who've gone before you. There are people who have lived before you and been through the levels of your career or your business before you. And and that's what we have on this call. So, I mean, I think just stay in curiosity and ask questions, and, probably you'll end up in a good spot. I'm excited for the scalability of eXp. I really do think eXp, other companies to hit like 100,000 agents has taken, a couple decades. My personal perspective is that's going to happen with eXp sometime very soon. I'm sure, Dave, you talk about that all the time, but I can just see the hockey stick happening much faster because Netflix, once they built Netflix for digital, they were able to reach everybody in the United States or with an internet connection instantly. And so the scalability in the digital world, me being a millennial, I mean, that's huge to me. I want a company who understands that, who gets that, and who can actually back it up. So that's huge.
Yeah. Bet. Guys, it's been a pleasure. Really appreciate you. Love you both. Thank you so much for being able to jump in here and give us so much value today. And again, reach out to these guys, reach out to me. We'd love to help you guys. And just stay in curiosity. I love that. I'm going to leave that up there as we finish. And just stay in curiosity, ask a lot of questions. It's time for change. It's time for growth. And it's really been a pleasure, you guys. Thanks so much.
Yeah,
we'll talk
thanks,
soon.
So glad to be in business with you both.
You bet.